Welcome to part 5 in this series. We left off in part 4 where we were talking about extrusions. We covered that extrusions were a generic way, and not just generic, but very powerful in terms that it can do a lot. It'll extrude, so either create or remove material, add or remove material for round or square parts. Typically round parts are going to be very simple in nature, whereas Revolve, which we're going to touch on right now, is a little more complex. So you'll get into conical, spherical, or cylindrical shapes for the most part. We're going to go ahead and sketch them. We'll also touch on some other topics that are going to be hidden in the feature tree, as well as the timeline that you'll see down here, as well as how to navigate around a 3D part. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. There's a little more, or I guess there's one more selection that's important for revolves, whereas it's not shown in an extrusion, just because of the nature of how that works. So we're going to go ahead and just create a sketch. Select this plane just because I like it. Create something that looks almost like a flathead screw, if you know what that looks like. To be very thorough and build some good habits, go ahead and do 75 is a good number. We'll set this as 135 because I like it. Looks a little fat to me, so we'll trim this down to 25, and then to be fully defined, go ahead and do this here. So it's 35 millimeters long. Now what you're looking at is basically a conical part, so think of like a flathead screw cut in a quarter, essentially. So you have a quarter section view. So once you have it drawn up, whatever the sketch profile looks like, you go ahead and hit Finish Sketch, which you can also do down here. I just don't like using this. In fact, most times I even collapse it. So you go ahead and select Finish Sketch. Got your sketch still shown here. We're going to go ahead and do your revolve. Now once you're in your revolve, you have your profile selected. So that'll show it's the area enclosed by your sketch. And then the additional selection you'll make in revolve is going to be the axis around which you revolve the sketch. So in this case, we'll change this, and we'll kind of study what the impact is by changing that. But you'll select that axis. Now you can project your axis, so that's how the axis is shown. If it's in the sketch or if it's in another sketch that you're selecting, it'll project it into the sketch that you're working on. So it depends on how that works. I like to draw, and what I recommend is drawing in the axis or using construction features up here, like an axis here, to revolve around, but obviously that's an option for you. In the same way that you can change how extrusions are made, you can do the same with revolves. So you can do a partial, and we're going to start looking at this in 3D. So I have a space mouse, so I can use it to revolve by rotating that space mouse that I was showing. If you don't have that, you also have the option of using the free orbit, so you can come in here and left click when you select this. It'll allow you to rotate, and then if you roll your scroll wheel, depending on what your settings are, it'll zoom in and out. So come up here, just a good view, and I'm going to go ahead and hit escape. It gets me out of that and it gets me back into the revolve window. So right now you have a partial revolve, and we're at 90 degrees. You can change this obviously to an infinite number of numbers between 0 and 360. So you have a 30-degree sketch. You can do two-sided, so the other side can be 50. You have an 80-degree revolve, essentially. And then you could do symmetric as well, so now you have 30 on either side of your midplane, which is shown here. You can change whether it's cutting, joining. You also have the intersection, so if you had two bodies, it'll create whatever you're designing in the intersection of the two parts, or just create a new body, which is what we're going to do right now. So if we go to full, select OK, we have this. We can come back down here and select free orbit. if that makes you dizzy or just it's difficult to kind of get a hang of, which it takes a lot of time, constrained orbits allow you to rotate in axes. It's a little difficult to kind of explain how that works, but it rotates about a single axis for you, so it's a little easier to control. I like the freedom of just free orbit, so you can go here and just kind of rotate around. You probably won't see me click this anymore because I prefer to use my space mouse, but it's there. In addition to that though, if you wanted to move it in terms of where it is on your screen, you can select the pan down here and kind of translate it in the XY axis around here. Now, if there's certain faces you want to look at, you can select the face and hit look at down here at the very bottom, and that will make you orthogonal to whatever plane you're showing, or it'll show the plane in a broad view. You can also use your cube up here. That's set as your home view. It's an isometric view, which is a 3D view where it shows all three planes equally. You can rotate through, you can go to your front view, use your arrows to kind of cycle through all your other planes. You can rotate them, and then you can come here. If you right click on it, you can change your different perspectives and the way that the different angles are shown. There's some very standard ways of doing that. Perspective changes the scale, basically how it looks in each plane as you're staring at it. Typically the standard is to just stick with orthographic. You can change which view is home and how it fits in here when you select home. You can also select whatever your current view is, if you want it to be your front, your top, or whatever it is. Convenient when you're making drawings, so it's easy to present the view that you want and the orientation that you like. Now, while you're in here as well, you can come and, well, although this is a 3D part, the sketch still exists, and you can kind of see, first of all, you have your timeline down here, so it shows what you've done in the order that you've done it. So as you add features and sketches, it'll show down here. So it's showing that the first thing we did was create that sketch that's kind of highlighted there now, and then you created a revolve, and that's highlighting there. Now while you're in there, you can also come up here and you have your sketch shown here, so you can unhide it by selecting the eyeball. So if it's white and filled in here, it means it's showing. If there's a line through it and it's not filled in, then it's hidden. You can come up here and go to bodies as well, so you can make the bodies disappear if you're trying to show something in particular. You can also hide and unhide your origin. If you want to show it, you can also hide and unhide certain axes and planes, whatever makes it easier for your viewing. You can edit your units. I believe we may have covered this in an earlier video. If it's important, which it always should be, you can set your units here. I like to design in millimeters. Sometimes I'll likely make custom. I like to design in millimeters and kilograms, although I do think in inches, especially when it comes into tight fitments and tolerances, which we'll get into in a much later video. Now, while we're here, let's go ahead and edit this sketch. So if you right click, while you're here, you can redefine the sketch plane, so you can change the plane that you sketched it on. So we can go ahead and do this. Go ahead and show. So I can't remember which sketch we were on, but let's say we wanted to do it on this one. It reorients your sketch. I believe we changed sketches, we may not have. If we didn't, it's essentially you would just right click and hit redefine sketch plane and just select whatever plane it is that you want. It doesn't even have to be any of these three standard planes. It can be a plane that you've created. So, and we'll get into that in another video up here with the construct up here. So we want to go ahead and edit the sketch. So if you edit the sketch, let's say we want to offset this revolve axis. So I want to go ahead here and hit construction. Let's define this fully. So let's offset this by, let's do 25, because that's a nice number. Now, the location is fully defined for something like this. On construction geometry that I'm using for an axis or anything like that, it's good practice if it is fully defined, but it's not detrimental if it's not, because however long this line is, it doesn't affect the design at all. If someone came in here and moved it around, it wouldn't really matter. So just to be thorough, we could select this, and we can make them coincident. So now everything is completely fully defined. Oop, there we go. I guess I didn't select the axis down there. So in any case, we have our new axis here. We're going to define that in just a second. Go ahead and select Finish Sketch. And then we come down here, right click, and you want to go ahead and Edit Feature. So we're going to go ahead and redefine this axis. We're going to clear the old axis out, and we're going to add the new axis. So if it revolved it, oops, I'm using my SolidWorks shortcuts in Fusion, and it keeps confusing me. Creates a donut shape right in the middle, so it creates a hole through there. Just pan around so you can see what that all looks like. It's got a through hole right through the middle. We're going to show you some other methods of, or other ways to use the revolve feature. So we're going to go ahead and clear the axis. We're not going to delete the new axis that I created and go back to that. Now let's say I wanted a conical feature on the inside that was cut away. So one thing we want to do, especially with round parts, that makes it very easy to draw on. So with flat parts, I can come up here, I can create a sketch off a flat plane, but if I wanted to do something in the middle that's conical, I need a plane that's through the center of the part. So you can come through when you hit Sketch. You can sketch right now for what I want to do on either the YZ or the XY plane. You can see that up here, the orientation that it's in, as well as here. So if I want to sketch on this plane, that allows me to make a cut through the center. So right now, although we're viewing from the side, we're actually drawing on a plane that's cutting through the center of this part. It's not shown that way, and the way to do that would be going up to your Inspect tab, and you want to go down to your Section Analysis. So the Section Analysis is going to cut the part along a plane that you select. So it cuts it for viewing purposes. It doesn't actually cut it for, like, doesn't actually remove any material. So go ahead and do that actually again, just to show you fully what I did. And once you've created one, it creates a permanent view that you can always refer to down here. So I'm just going to go ahead here and hit delete and do this all over for you guys again. Oop, it doesn't like that I'm in it. So let's go ahead and delete this now. Oh, doesn't want to delete. Strange. Might be because I'm still in the sketch. There we go. Okay. It's because I was still in the sketch. Now, if we go back into editing this sketch, we're going to go ahead here and do another section analysis. We're going to select this plane, and you could change the angle so you can rotate. You can rotate in this direction. You can also move it along here. I want to go back to, where were we? So it's flat, and we want to go back to the center. That does not look right. Let's come back here. Use section analysis. There we go. Just leave it from there, and you can flip the side here. You can have it show hatch or not show hatch, depending on whatever's easiest for you. You can change the colors in your settings, do all sorts of different things here. I'm just going to leave it very simple. Select OK. That creates your section analysis. Now I'm going to go ahead and edit the sketch. I want to use the geometry that's already here to create an offset, and in the way that we're going to do that, we're going to go to Create, and then you're going to go to You can either do project or intersect. And what we're doing here, basically, it takes the sketch or the features that you're going to highlight, the body, and it's going to project those lines, those sketch elements, onto the sketch plane that you're working on, even though you haven't drawn them. So if I select this, I go ahead and click this body. There we go. I've selected the whole body. It had specified entities, so I guess it was splitting into 2 different regions essentially, but I want the whole thing. So you select bodies here, you're going to select OK, and now what it's done is it's placed the lines where the outline of the part already is. There's no reason to sketch them if they're already sketched. I'm going to leave them as construction features because we're not actually going to do anything with those. Now let's say we want this line offset, the whole feature offset. So I've created that. It's kind of difficult with the colors that are showing up here, but I think the gist of it is going to be shown. So what I've done is I went ahead and created an offset here. And you can always, now you can go ahead and you can change the dimensions if you'd like. I'm going to leave it at 5. So we're going to go ahead and hit Finish Sketch, Revolve. We're going to select this axis, and it's already saying that it's going to be a cut and full, which is what I want in this instance. So now, as you stay in a section feature, you've created something like this, and you can obviously do this in a number of different ways, including how you sketch it and all that. But if you wanted to make a cut, that's just a way that it can be done. So what's nice about Revolves is that it's very editable. It's very easy to edit. So if you have a round, conical, spherical, cylindrical part, anything like that, all of the dimensions involved in that revolve is edited in one sketch. Whereas if you did this with a number of extrusions, you'd have to go into each sketch and edit them separately. So a lot of times a design is really, it's important to think a couple steps ahead, not only in how you're designing it, but how it's edited, how you're going to show it in a drawing. Some other things to think about more than just what's the easiest way to create the part in three dimensions. So as we get along, we'll show a little bit more, not only of just how to build parts, how to make good sketches, show good practices, but also how to use other parts of your feature tree, which is typically here. And it's kind of split, which is a little unique to Fusion, because you also have your timeline, which, like we spoke about earlier, it just shows everything you've done as you go along. You can go ahead here and you can drag it, so basically you can remove some of the work that you've done. It's not permanent because you can always go roll it back. You can roll it back, so now the sketch is actually there if we go ahead and unhide the section view. So you can come here, go a little further back, so now it's just your sketch. There's nothing there. A little useful, especially when you're going through and you're trying to insert features in certain places. Let's say you had a chamfer or something else that you wanted inserted before other features existed. It's very easy to do that instead of deleting them, adding in the feature that you want, and then putting those features back in. Just saves a lot of time. And then you also have named views, which are just your standard top. You just double click on these, front, right, and home. That's all defined on how you set up your cube up here. You can also right click and do a new named view. So let's say I go to here, new named view. You can select it again while it's highlighted and just hit name, hit enter, and now no matter where I rotate, as I come through here, it'll go right back to there. So if that was a useful view for you, you can create that there as well. So it kind of shows a little bit more of your tree, your timeline, how to revolve. We've shown extrusions, sketches. We're going to get into some more advanced topics as we go along, and at the end of the video series you'll be able to create really robust, easily editable designs, and we'll get into what makes a good design in terms of manufacturability. So machine shops will love you. But thanks for watching, guys, and hope you enjoyed it.